When my wife, Emma, first mentioned the idea of a self-discovery trip, I didn't think much of it. She'd been restless lately, talking about needing space, balance, and a break from our routine life. I figured maybe a few days away would help her clear her mind. I trusted her maybe a little too much. After all, 7 years of marriage had to mean something, right? She talked about yoga retreats, meditation, beaches, and quiet mornings journaling. I supported it, even encouraged her. I told myself she deserved the peace she was searching for. But a part of me, quiet and uneasy, wondered why that peace couldn't be found with me. Whenever I brought it up, she'd smile faintly and say, "It's not about you, Jake. It's about me trying to understand myself." So, I stayed behind, managing the house, juggling work, convincing myself that space was healthy for love. But nights grew longer and her messages shorter. Good night replaced, "I miss you." Calls became rare, and when I tried to video chat, she'd say the signal was bad. Still, I waited. I didn't want to be the paranoid husband who doubted his wife's intentions. I told my best friend, Ryan, "She just needs some time. She'll come back renewed." He looked at me for a long moment before saying, "Or she'll come back different." 3 weeks later, Emma did return, but the woman who walked through that door wasn't my wife. She was distant, distracted, her laughter forced. Her eyes, once so full of warmth, were cold, like she'd seen something she wasn't ready to let go of. I asked her how the trip was. She said it was transformative. When I pressed for details, she changed the subject, asking instead about bills and groceries. The next few days were unbearable. She avoided intimacy, avoided conversation, avoided me. One evening while she showered, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I ignored it the first time, but when it buzzed again and again, I picked it up. The screen lit with a message that tore through my chest. "Can't stop thinking about you. Last night under the stars, unforgettable." It wasn't signed, but it didn't have to be. The words said enough. My hands shook. My heart raced, but not from surprise, from confirmation. Every uneasy feeling I'd buried suddenly surfaced, clawing its way to the truth I didn't want to face. I didn't confront her that night. I couldn't. I just sat on the edge of our bed, holding that phone, staring at the message until the screen dimmed. My mind ran in circles. Maybe it was a misunderstanding, maybe an old friend, maybe something else. But deep down, I already knew the answer. When she came out of the shower, humming softly, wrapped in a towel, I felt like I was watching a stranger. She smiled at me, that same gentle, familiar smile that once melted me, and asked if I'd eaten. I nodded, unable to meet her eyes. I was afraid that if I did, I'd break. That night, she slipped into bed beside me, scrolled through her phone a bit, then turned away. No good night. No warmth, no trace of the woman I'd loved for years. Just silence. And in that silence, I found my answer louder than words. The next morning, I left for work early, but I didn't go straight there. I drove to the beach, the same kind she'd gone to on her so-called self-discovery trip. I sat in my car watching couples walk hand in hand, and I realized how long it had been since Emma had even looked at me that way. I'd spent years giving, fixing, forgiving, waiting for her to notice the man who'd built his world around her. Later that evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I asked her straight to her face, "Who is he, Emma?" She froze. For a moment, her lips parted like she wanted to deny it, but her eyes confessed everything. "Jake," she whispered. "I didn't plan it. I just felt alive again." That sentence, "felt alive again," like our marriage had been the death of her spirit. I didn't yell. I didn't throw things. I just sat there, nodding slowly, the air thick between us. "How long?" I asked. "Just during the trip," she said, her voice trembling. It was never supposed to mean anything, but she couldn't meet my gaze when she said it. I turned away. My heart was pounding, but not from anger, from clarity. I realized that somewhere along the way, I'd become a placeholder in her story, the steady, reliable chapter before the excitement began. For days after, I walked through our house like a ghost. She tried to talk to me, tried to explain, but every word felt hollow. Every apology echoed against walls that had already heard too many lies. I wasn't just betrayed, I was replaced. And that's when I made my decision. I wasn't going to beg her to choose me. I wasn't going to compete with the version of herself she'd found. That night, I opened my laptop and started typing. A divorce letter. Not out of spite, but out of self-respect. When I slid that letter across the table the next morning, Emma just stared at it. Her fingers trembled slightly as she picked it up, scanning the words. There was no shouting, no drama. Just silence thick enough to choke on. She looked up at me, her eyes wet. "You're really doing this?" she whispered. I nodded. "You went to find yourself," I said quietly. "I'm doing the same." For the first time in months I felt calm. Not numb, not angry, just free. The kind of calm that comes when you stop fighting for someone who's already gone. She reached across the table, her voice shaking. "Jake, please, it was a mistake. I didn't mean to hurt you." I met her eyes. "You didn't just hurt me, Emma. You broke the one thing that made us real, trust. And once that's gone, there's no coming back." She cried then, really cried, the way she used to when life overwhelmed her and I used to hold her. But I didn't reach out this time. I let her feel the weight of her own choices. I'd carried it long enough. She asked if we could try again, go to therapy, start fresh. But fresh doesn't exist when the roots are rotten. I told her I hoped she truly found what she was looking for, because I finally was too. Myself. The following weeks were strange, quiet mornings, empty rooms, no arguments, no forced smiles. Just space. And in that space I began to breathe again. I reconnected with old friends, went running in the mornings, cooked for myself, laughed without guilt. Slowly, I began to remember the man I was before I started shrinking to fit someone else's happiness. One evening, Ryan came over with a six-pack. "You look different," he said. "Lighter," I replied with a half smile. He nodded. "You did the right thing, man. Sometimes walking away is the only way to heal." And he was right. The house no longer felt like a prison. It was mine again. My peace, my silence, my freedom. I didn't hate Emma. I pitied her. Because while she was busy finding herself in someone else's arms, I'd found something she never could. Peace that didn't depend on anyone. Months passed. The divorce papers were finalized quietly, without drama. I didn't attend the hearing. My lawyer handled it. I didn't need closure. I'd already found it the day I stopped trying to prove my worth to someone blind to it. Now when people ask what happened, I just smile and say, she went looking for herself and so did I. The difference is, I actually found what I was looking for. And in that quiet truth I discovered something better than love, freedom.